Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight News Now, the MMA edition. You are not going to want to miss a minute of this show because we have a ton of newsmakers to get through. Robin Black is back for 3 rounds with John Ramdeen. On the shift, we have another giveaway, and our viral video will likely make you laugh your ass off. Trust me, let's get started. Last week, UFC President Dana White revealed that the promotion's welterweight champion, George St. Pierre, asked that his next match be against Nick Diaz, not a super fight against Anderson Silva. GSP said that he has unfinished business with Diaz, but there's one man out there that thinks he's more deserving of the next shot at the welterweight belt. That's Johnny Hendricks, and here's what he had to say about it.
Yeah, I think that he's trying to stay away from me. You know, what else? What other reason is there? I try to analyze it every which way, and he said because he talked trash. Who cares? That's the point of our sport, is people do talk trash, and it's all fun and games. Who cares what somebody says over the internet or what they say to your face? And I feel like I've proved that I can go with GSP and that I should go with GSP, and here he is keeping me out of that. You know, I'm not mad at anybody else but GSP for calling somebody else out.
UFC featherweight Mark Hominick has announced his retirement from MMA. The 30-year-old holds a record of 20-12, which includes fights in the UFC, WEC, and TKO, and he's known as a fan favorite, putting on exciting performances. Hominick says he's looking forward to moving on to the next phase of his career, and we wish him the best. Lightweight champion Benson Henderson made a successful second title defense when he dominated Nate Diaz at UFC on Fox 5 last weekend. Henderson earned the unanimous decision and did it all with a toothpick in his mouth.
I have been through practices and when I spar, when I fight. It's a bad habit, but whatever. I've gotten away with it so far. I've said it a couple times before. I'll just go ahead and reiterate. I want to fight the best guys on the planet at 155. Line them up. I'm not going nowhere.
Well, Henderson sure proved his point on Saturday night, especially when he hurt one of the toughest guys in the lightweight division early on in the fight, which prevented Diaz from fighting at 100%. Here's Diaz's take on the bout.
I got a punch in the eye pretty early in the fight, and things were blurry. They never came back. I was waiting for it to recover, and when it did, I was going to come back strong, but it never did. So I was trying to wait for the eye to recover and see until I could see straight, because I knew it was coming back and I knew I was gonna come back strong from it, but never did. I ran out of time with it, and sucks, but whatever. That's what happens. Good job, man.
At least he can show some respect for Henderson's performance. And we may not have noticed it right away, but Diaz's coach, Cesar Gracie, sure saw the shift in Diaz's game after his eye was injured.
Props to Ben Henderson, popped him with a left-hand, I think. And Nate said it felt like the whole fist went directly into his eye socket and then popped back out. And I could see something had changed in the second. He was getting taken down. He was, you know, and he pretty much lost every round. One thing about Nate is a lesser heart person would have quit. A lesser heart person would have just shriveled up and, okay, I'm ready to go home and get my check. And Nate never did that. He's so tough, you know, so I'm proud of him.
Gracie also coaches Strikeforce's lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez, who is rumored to be moving over to the UFC after Strikeforce's final card in January. Melendez is on a 7-fight win streak, and his training partner Diaz had a warning for the UFC's lightweight champ.
No one's stopping Gilbert Melendez. I don't think there's any reason why Gilbert Melendez hasn't showed enough over the years. He's got the most perfect record, beat all the best guys, and I think that he's definitely the next guy in line. It's not my call, but I definitely think if not, he's coming, so watch out.
And we finally got to see the battle between a legend and a rising star. TriStar's Rory McDonald proved he was too big for BJ Penn at UFC on Fox 5. Penn had come out of retirement for the fight, so where does he go from here? Listen to what Dana White had to say.
BJ is a warrior. I mean, talk about a guy that doesn't give up and doesn't quit and just keeps coming. I have so much respect for BJ. I always have, even through the good times and the bad times. And I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him retire. He's got plenty of money. He's got a great family who loves him, and he's got babies. Just a beautiful wife. He has nothing left to prove to anybody, and everybody loves him. You heard the arena here tonight. I'd like to see BJ retire.
And while Penn might retire, Rory McDonald is looking to redeem himself against Carlos Condit, who is the only fighter McDonald has ever lost to. That was back at UFC 115 in June 2010, and here's what he had to say about the natural-born killer.
I was humiliated and embarrassed after that fight, you know, and I think about that fight all the time. It haunts me, and I really need to get past that chapter in my life. It's up to Carlos to accept my challenge. And I know he's a warrior, and I don't think he would decline. I mean, he's coming off a loss. He's got to fight somebody. Might as well be me.
From the sounds of it, Condit has verbally agreed to the fight if the UFC decides to offer it. At the moment, the natural-born killer is resting from his loss to McDonald's TriStar teammate GSP. So McDonald is looking to clear his only loss, while it seems another welterweight is jonesing to get back into the octagon and put the young rising star in his place. After the McDonald-Penn fight, Josh Koscheck tweeted, "Maybe Rory should fight me. I doubt the UFC would want to see him get his ass kicked." Six-time Fight of the Night winner Diego Sanchez recently revealed on Twitter that he'll be moving back down to lightweight for his next bout. He'll face Takanori Gomi in Japan at UFC on Fuel TV 8. Fight of the Night at UFC on Fox 5 went to the first bout of the night between Scott Jorgensen and John Albert. Not only that, Jorgensen also walked away with the submission of the night bonus after pulling a first-round rear naked choke on Albert, but he was pissed off about his positioning on the card.
To tell you the truth, I was bummed to be on Facebook. You know, I got a number of fights now under Zuffa. I do not disappoint when I come to fight. I come to fight. It felt good to go back out there and be in front of the millions, and I'm glad they played it on FX, and and the bonuses don't hurt. So this is my first time winning double bonuses, so hopefully it's not the last.
There's been a lot of talk about Anderson Silva facing either welterweight champ GSP or light heavyweight belt holder John Jones in a super fight. St. Pierre hasn't been too keen on the idea, but check out what Jones had to say about it.
I think super fights are important for the sport. They're important for legacies, and a desire to compete in one isn't really. I really don't have this big desire to compete against anyone in particular. Right now I have a good recipe of success, and they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. And fighting Anderson would be, a definite testament of my faith. We're on this earth to dream big, so. Who knows what will happen. Sounds like we're breaking, huh? Me and Anderson, huh? Sounds like the story's twisted. I'm up for whatever, man.
Heavyweights Brendan Schaub and LeVar Johnson have verbally agreed to face each other, and this bout is targeted for UFC 157 in February. They are both looking to get back on the winning track. Schaub is coming off back-to-back KO losses, while Johnson was submitted by Stefan Struve at UFC 146. The Tough 16 finale goes down this Saturday, and we'll see TriStar prospect Mike Ricci in the welterweight finals against Colton Smith. We've already seen Ricci in a tournament with Bellator, which didn't go his way, so now he's looking to be the first Canadian to win Tough.
There's never been a Canadian in the finals for the Ultimate Fighter. So being the first Canadian to do that, to bring that credential back to our country, that accomplishment would mean a lot to me, and I think it would put a little bit more of that Bellator situation to rest for me.
Those are your newsmakers, and John Ramdeen joins me now. Ramdeen, what do you think Ricci has to do to win Tough 16?
I think if Ricci stays on the outside, uses his long limbs, he can batter Colton Smith. But if he goes down to the ground, he unleashes his ground and pound. He can win there too. Mike Ricci is very skilled.
All right, so 3 rounds is next, and Robin Black is back, and I know you guys got to be talking about Tough 16, but what else do you have for us?
We talk about who impressed us most in Seattle at UFC on Fox 5.
All right, 3 rounds with you and Robin Black after this break. Stay with us. welcome back. After his big fight at Slam 1, we have Robin Black back in his spot for 3 rounds alongside John Ramdeen. They have a lot to cover, so let's turn it over to them. Guys, take it away.
Sarah, we examined the UFC on Fox 5 card, which went down this past Saturday, and we examined some of the matchups that are taking place at the Ultimate Fighter 16 finale in Las Vegas. But we start with a card that many people considered to be the deepest in all of network television. I'm talking, of course, about UFC on Fox 5. It featured the lightweight championship of the world between Ben Henderson and Nathan Diaz. And going into this fight, Robin, many people said that Nathan Diaz is the man that's going to dethrone Ben Henderson. Did not happen. Why?
Man, Henderson is as good as we think he is. In fact, he's a lot better than we think he is. You know, we've been doing a little comparing of Henderson to George St. Pierre because of his athleticism, because of his wrestling, because of how well-rounded he is. But he's even more dynamic than that. This guy is having fun in there. He's aggressive. He's a badass.
Talk about the toothpick. Of course, we don't want to really take away some of the spotlight on Ben Henderson, but word is that he had a toothpick in his mouth during 5 rounds in a championship fight. It is just not safe to do so.
Well, you know, the Washington Commission said they don't care. You know, so if the commission doesn't care, now personally, I think a commission probably should care if you have a sharp object in your mouth, but they didn't care, so it had no effect on them. I mean, realistically, fighters, athletes, all these guys are odd characters. You know, baseball players chewed wads of tobacco that were so large it would be offensive to just about anybody. And this guy had a toothpick in his mouth. I mean, this is just the kind of thing these kind of athletes can do.
Ben Henderson, we see him improve each and every time he steps into the octagon. Are we seeing a new blueprint of what fighters are going to be? We know that George St. Pierre almost really cemented that blueprint with the athleticism and you know, the way he carries himself. I think Ben Henderson is almost taking that to a new level.
Yeah, you know, it's fascinating with the stage that we're at in the sport, where we're starting to see types. And one day, maybe there will only be one type, and it will be the very long, rangy fighter with all the skill sets. But, you know, we're seeing that short, compact, powerful type fighter. We're seeing the smaller, quick fighter like the Frankie Edgar, and we're seeing the long, rangy fighter like John Jones. No question, George St. Pierre and Henderson are becoming a physical type. And when you take these physical attributes and you build a game around it, in some of these guys' cases, they're becoming monsters.
Of course, we saw the former UFC light heavyweight champion, Shogun, taking on Alexander Gustafsson. It really did not look like the Shogun of old. It just seems that this guy is really not getting up for fights. Physically, he's not in the shape that he needs to be. Because if you look at Gustafsson's performance, yes, he banged up Shogun's face and he moved forward. But I just think it was Shogun's fight, and he just didn't take it seriously enough.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about in this fight because Gustafsson, to me, you know, we're talking about him being the next great light heavyweight contender. He hasn't yet shown that at all. You know, when you can go in there and you can beat a Silva, who didn't look good over in Europe, and then you can beat a Shogun who's worn down. Is he making these guys look like they don't perform well? I don't think so. I don't think he's beaten anyone yet. And in Shogun's case, there's been a long amount of whispering about this elite, great athlete and how in a lot of cases he doesn't prepare for fights. He's surrounded by yes men. He's not understanding the level that these guys are training at, and we just saw it again.
Rory McDonald, again, cementing himself as one of the top 5 best welterweights in the planet with his dismantling of BJ Penn. And I think we're both in agreement. BJ should drop down to 155 pounds, stay away from the 170-pound division, unless there's competitive fights for him. I think a fight with Martin Kampmann would make sense. I think he could hang with Martin Kampmann. But I think the best fights for BJ Penn are at 155 pounds.
He should never have gone back up to 170. You know, after a couple of losses at 155, he was so dominant. At 170, he's not big enough, he's not athletic enough, and he relies on all of his other great skills, but he's way, you know, it's just not the right division for him, and it never really has been in modern sports. But Rory McDonald is terrifying. Rory McDonald is a terrifying fighter.
Obviously, there was so much talk about this main card with these 3 great fights, and of course, Matt Brown and Mike Swick. Matt Brown having the performance of his career. But I want to take a look at the prelims because really, they almost outshone the main card. You look at some of the performances that went on. I have to look at Dennis Seaver, his destruction of Namfan, constantly moving forward. And I think 145 pounds is a great place for this guy. And I think he would probably give Jose Aldo a number of problems.
Well, first of all, I think Frankie Edgar is planning to give Jose Aldo a number of problems first, but Dennis Seaver definitely established himself as a legitimate 145er. All of a sudden, he takes a dominant half guard over a jiu-jitsu black belt and beats the crap out of him on the ground, and we're like, okay, let's all just slowly step away from Dennis Seaver for a second, you know? The guy really looked phenomenal.
A guy that we've seen fight in the past for Ringside MMA, Darren Cruikshank, I think he was robbed of the knockout of the night. It was a beautiful performance against Martinez. That right leg came over, scored perfectly. And I think this is a guy that you look at as a blueprint. Learn your wrestling, which he has. Start learning how to throw those kicks like we're seeing from Ben Henderson. Yeah. I think this is a new blueprint. These good kickboxers with Taekwondo or karate backgrounds that learn how to sprawl and try to end things with their kicks.
The Detroit Superstar. Okay, first of all, that's a killer nickname. That's awesome. The guy's always been exciting. They're one of the great gifts of the job that we do. We get to call these guys in their development stage. We've been watching this guy fight for years and loving it. And to have a knockout like that, he's got lots of personality, and like you mentioned, a great wrestler with some great kickboxing. We're going to have a lot of fun watching this guy fight.
Scott Jorgensen, not only with the submission of the night, the fight of the night, and I mean, the guy walks away with a boatload of money. Why is he fighting on Facebook?
Yeah, that won't happen again. And I had him in the office pool, so it's all good.
Scott Jorgensen, a very talented competitor, and we also have to look at Eve Edwards. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, Eve Edwards proved that he belongs with the best in the 155-pound division with that knockout over Jeremy Stephens.
Yeah, for sure. And Eve Edwards was due. It's not like he ever got away from being a great fighter. He was due, and it was his time, and it's great to see in a time where we're seeing a lot of guys retire, great guys performing like that.
The Ultimate Fighter 16 finale goes down on Saturday from Las Vegas. Of course, Mike Ricci taking on Colton Smith. And Mike Ricci, how does he win this fight?
However he wants. Mike Ricci is a monster, and Colton Smith, I don't think he's ready for him.
Colton Smith only 3-1 as a professional. Mike Ricci training with some of the best fighters in the world. Next week, we take a look at the year-end show, the heavyweight championship of the world on the line, and a bunch of other great fights. Sarah, the end of 2012 is going to kick arse.
It's going to be awesome, and you guys rock, so thank you. Now stay with us to find out what we're giving away on The Shift. And on our viral video, check out these chumps who obviously didn't learn about Newton's 3 laws of motion.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Fight News Now. One of the best action movies of all time is set to air on Fight Network this Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's Die Hard, and you know you can't resist watching Bruce Willis whoop some terrorist ass, so don't miss it. All right, you know what else is irresistible? The Shift, where we show you how one illustrator befriends a pro wrestler. So sometimes in life, one career leads to dipping your hand into something you never expected. Such is this next case about Jill Thompson, whose illustrations have led to a side project with one particular professional wrestler.
Writer and illustrator Jill Thompson is known for her work in Neil Gaiman's The Sandman and her own series, Scary Godmother. So why is she on Fight Network?
A lot of guys that are pro wrestlers read my form of well, the way I make a living as their entertainment, so they're comic book fans, and that's really how I've met every wrestler that that I've ever become friends with. They were either fans of my work or fans of comics, and we just kind of connected.
How is the creator of Scary Godmother connected to pro wrestling? Well, in case you didn't know, she designs Daniel Bryan's wrestling gear.
My involvement with Daniel Bryan in the WWE came through the fact that he was a fan of my comic Beasts of Burden, published by Dark Horse Comics. And there was a website called Hot Nerds Reading Comics, and it had a picture of him reading Beasts of Burden. And I marked out, so we just started exchanging emails and messages, and he texted me soon after that and asked me if I ever thought about designing some gear. I just started doing some sketches, which he really liked, and then we just hit it off, and I've been employed for like over 1.5 years designing all the stuff he wears on TV.
Thompson had a hand in aiding the Yes phenomenon right before it invaded the WWE universe.
When Yes caught on, you know, he messaged me right away. He was like, "Can you design me some Yes gear? You know, like Yes is this Yes thing is gonna be something."
Thompson tells us how she came up with Daniel Bryan's look.
It's an interesting process because just because you're a wrestler doesn't mean you can come and go, "Make me cool gear," because I don't know anything about you. It's the same way if I was designing like superhero character. You have to know something about their personality, or also what's their gimmick. Are they heel? Are they babyface? Which way are they pushing it? So I just kind of built on the American Dragon gimmick, even though it's not used in the WWE. You know, it's like fans obviously are so attached to Bryan as on the independent circuit and his real, you know, like his wrestling cred, right?
Getting more aggressive. Hard chop from the champion of the court. Another backbreaker coming up.
The crossover between combat sports and comics has begun to emerge. A number of pro wrestlers, including CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, have taken to Twitter to fuel the fire, simultaneously supporting the literary medium.
It's been fun to see how many people have come up to me and said, "I started reading your book because you designed gear for Daniel Bryan." And I was like, "I'm glad you started reading comics because of that. That's really cool."
So THQ has hooked us up, and we are giving away the new WWE 13 video game, which is awesome. There's a ton of new downloadable content, and you can relive the Attitude Era in career mode. So how can you get your hands on this bad boy? Tweet us at FightNet using hashtag FNWWE13, or leave us a message on our Facebook wall at facebook.com/FightNetwork. And of course, you can comment on our YouTube channel. All right, let's get to our viral video, which begs the question, where did they get this idea from?
Yeah.
I don't think they really thought that one through. All right, that does it for us. Don't forget to catch Die Hard this Friday night, and make sure you hit us up on that contest for your chance to win THQ's WWE 13. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy all the action this weekend.